Vanaand gesels ons met Stephen McGown oor sy 6 jaar as gevangene van Al-Qaïda in die Sahara woestyn. Terwille van oorlewing het hy Islam as geloof aangeneem. In die 6 jaar het sy gesin onverpoos gewerk en gebid om hom vrygelaat te kry, terwyl hulle hoogstens 1 keer per jaar 'n sogenaamde proof of life video van hom te sien gekry het.
I had been told that Steve would probably convert to Islam. Of course, I had no idea what he would be like when he came home. But in a way, I actually had peace about it. And when he did come back and I saw him and I spoke to him and it just felt right.
Kath and I, we met at church. So I was still Christian. And when we were in the UK, we went to church. So we were both Christians. My struggle was, well, I understand Christianity, and if I were to jump from Christianity into Islam, am I jumping from heaven into hell? Because I didn't understand Islam. I had no idea what it was about. But I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die, and life was difficult. I'd been kept under a small bush for about 10 days. I was not going to survive if things did not change. So I did convert to Islam at that stage. Huge decision. I felt religious guilt towards my family and towards God that I was jumping ship. So I actually ended up slurring out the words to enter into Islam. What you say is, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulallah. There is no God except for Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger. I didn't know what the words meant at the time. I didn't understand Arabic at the time. But one of the Al-Qaeda members said to me, repeat after me. And he said it. And I slurred it out that God himself could not even understand what I said. It was probably the best thing that I did, actually. It allowed me to learn Islam. It allowed me to understand Islam. It allowed me to operate. It allowed me to get out from under this bush that I'd been held captive and interact with Al-Qaeda. And it allowed me to live. It kept my head on my shoulders. And really, I was under a X years prison sentence. It was an indefinite prison sentence.
His inner heart is what it is. I cannot influence it. I would not want to influence it now, particularly if he's come across something that's a bit different and he wants to believe in that, then that's his belief.
And I truly believe that God got me through this. When I tried to cognitively understand my situation, well, it was dire. I had this British passport. Even without the British passport, I was a prisoner. Al-Qaeda chop off people's heads. Al-Qaeda executes people. There was a very good chance something was going to go wrong and I would die. And if it wasn't Al-Qaeda, well, then I'd be bitten by a snake because snakes would come past us. And I used to sit in the desert thinking, wow, there is chaos going on out here. And I'd close my eyes and listen inside, and I could feel a presence.
Lots of people prayed for us for years and years, and it's definitely like the prayers were actually tangible. And if it wasn't without those prayers and God's presence, there's no way I could have survived.
People were wonderful. I met just a person walking in the park down the road from where I live. And they had a lovely little beautiful couple of little pups, and we got talking, and then, it's my son that's taken and that sort of thing. And was it Father's Day or whatever, but the next day the bell goes and there they are for a bottle of wine and a little gift for Father's Day.
Stephen se lewe in die woestyn was 'n lewende hel. Vir byna die volle 6 jaar het hy nooit in 'n vaste struktuur gebly nie en was hy uitgelewer aan die elemente.
We would just drive and stop and set up camp. And if we had a tree, we would then rotate around the tree as the sun moved. As the sun came across us, we would move following the shadow. And it was tough. You couldn't escape the sun. No matter, we would hang blankets in the tree. No matter what you did, you could not escape the sun. I was permanently burnt. We would eat out of a small metal dish. The three of us would sit around the dish and we would eat spaghetti, and it was always in this thick oil. It was terrible. Half the time you thought you were going to be sick. You'd sit there eating with your hands out of this dish. We would be given some powdered milk. You literally drink out of the bowl and pass the bowl and you drink out of the bowl. And that was pretty much our lunches and our dinners and our breakfasts. We would tell the days of the month using the moon. As the moon waxing and waning. We would literally tell the seasons by the warmth and like the direction of the wind, and caterpillars coming down from the acacia trees and watching swallows migrate across the Sahara. We had snakes, we had scorpions. I saw a wolf up in North Africa. I saw some honey badgers. We ate camels and goats and sheep. We ate some more more wild things. I ate a mouse. I ate a giant, like a leguan. Wow, the winters were cold. The wind was from the northeast, and it would blow through absolutely everything. I used to imagine it blowing from the snow-capped mountains of Europe. Never been so cold in my whole life. I've got some GPS coordinates. I could go back to an exact tree where I sat in the desert and say, I spent my 40th birthday sitting at this little sabaya, this little tree. And there was a surveillance plane over there, and a mirage came from here, so we picked up an abandoned camp and went there. Al-Qaïda always had guns around us. We were always the prisoners at a distance. Yeah, and we'd interact when we needed water, when we needed food. I learned some crazy things. I mean, I milked the goat. I milked the camel. I dug a well. I made rope from grass, holding grass between your toes, putting it in water, and then rolling grass. Incredible skills. And I used this to actually create my huts on occasions. We didn't have rope, so I would literally make grass to tie up my hut.